Welcome back, everybody. We're not laughing at EU and NA's lack of wins so far. We're not. Rash just told a very funny joke right before we went on air. Oh my god, and we can't replicate it at all. I'm very, very sorry.
Yeah, it's good.
And it's getting a little silly. It's silly hours. We still have 2 best of 1s to go. It's very serious. It's a World Championship, guys. But it's 2 possible chances back-to-back for EU and NA, respectively, to win. We've got FlyQuest versus GAM up next, and then we've got G2 versus Pain. So not all is lost yet, but we're going to start with this one. And with GAM, they are our VCS's first seed. Now, you may remember them from the plains because they came through completely unscathed. 2-0 SHG and Rainbow 7.
Best performing team in play-ins.
Yeah.
I think for sure, with the ability to win every game. Kiaya was the one that was most impressive to me. He had back-to-back Aurora wins in his first series, and I forget what he played in the second series as of now, but it must have been good.
It was a lot of Aurora in my eyes. But
what was the other champion?
GB, do you remember?
Why? No, well, why are we doing this? I feel like we should just move on. Like, I agree with it was great performance.
He was great.
From Kiaya. What I was more impressed with GAM in general was actually the fact of how controlled they were with their gameplay, because it was not your ordinary VCS gameplay that came out where they're just going mega hard with tempo and taking every fight they can. It was macro gameplay, and it was through Levi specifically. One of my favorite games from Levi was his Shyvana game, just because of how controlled and how efficient his pathing was. And yes, I did.
I know
Shyvana.
you love Shyvana.
Yeah.
Great champion. They're up first as the LCS first seed. You heard that right. It's FlyQuest. You know, and
Rumble.
what?
He's on it.
Rumble?
Aurora Rumble, I knew it. I
Oh,
just
Rumble.
didn't commit.
Yeah. That makes sense. But talk to me about how FlyQuest ended up as your #1 seed.
a lot of it was just how good they were at team fighting and how much they leveled up around this guy right here. Quad became the best mid laner in the LCS by the playoffs. And a lot of it was how they funneled resources to him on side lanes. I think they were really smart around it. And how good they were around what was like Ivern Renekton comps, or specifically how they were playing team fights around the space that Bwipo was providing. So it felt like they all clicked in by the time they were in the finals versus Team Liquid.
They were really committed to their identity. But their identity did shift from the last time that I think a lot of people saw FlyQuest when they lost at MSI play-ins to PSG. So they would pick Renekton every single time it was up, if it was there. And I think they played so much more around their true carries, Quad and Massu. And then Inspired was also very willing to play supportive junglers. So they really did manage to pivot their style in playoffs, and that's ultimately what led them to a championship.
Yeah, I know we don't have the camera on us right now. I thought you were about to point in the minion in the fridge, Raz, when you were talking about who the MVP was.
They went a guy in
there as well.
How did that happen?
Wait, they smuggled one here. They might actually win a game.
They
The
actually
minion
did.
game.
No, it absolutely did. And I mean, what a crazy ending to a final as well. I still think, like, when I look at most people and talking out of North American teams, they still feel like Team Liquid seemed like the stronger team, but FlyQuest is the first seed as well coming into it. And I think they have the level of play to showcase at their best what it means to be an NA team.
Team Liquid lost their last game, so my best friend is FlyQuest now. And Inspired, Inspired, I mean, best Western jungler coming into the tournament, question mark?
Yes, undoubtedly, and he's such a complete player, as you can see. At the beginning of the split, he was playing such a carry-centric style. You can see the Nidalee, Karthus, Talia, and all these things. But then by the end, to the point that Jat was making, their carries were Quad and Massu. And he made the joke of him being like a kitten because he was playing Ivern and he was going bot lane a lot. And he was basically saying, oh, I'm playing supportive styles. He was letting those two carries really go for it. So it really is, as flexible as a player he is, we already know how smart and vocal as he is in the game. The team has really rallied around it, and they've been consistent themselves.
One thing I will say with Inspired, though, and I think we saw this rear its ugly head at MSI, is if other players on his team are struggling, I think that can throw Inspired off his game. But if his lanes are stable and he's trusting them, then he really gets to shine because he'll be extremely efficient in pathing and he knows like how to win the game through team fighting. But as the opponents of his laners get stronger, sometimes that can get iffy.
And two players that I would say from both sides that I'm looking forward to. From GAM side, Emo. Because he was a player that actually really was delightful for me with his Yone play. They're probably going to ban it away from me. He was too good on that. From FlyQuest side, Busio, who's definitely want to showcase a much better performance than he did at MSI. His MSI performance was abysmal. But I think during the regular season, he was really quite good. And then by the playoffs, it was nice. And I think he's going to have a much better performance here today.
All right. Now, I wanted to take a look at how well, the VCS, but GAM specifically has been doing against NA, because we have a couple of memories. So we're going to pull up that record. GAM 3, NA 4 in terms of match record, best ofs, and then GAM 5-9. So it's better in best of ones.
Oh no, it certainly is. But I also think, like, sure, historically we can talk about these things, but this GAM that's been showing up this time seems so much more controlled than the GAM we saw earlier. I understand how some teams will kind of just get sucked into that chaos that they bring, but that's not really going to be the case this time around. And I'm keeping my eyes on the top side of the map for GAM, just because Kiaya has been phenomenal. I'm personally really looking forward to the matchup against Bwipo. He's been talking a big game. I want to see what he's bringing out against Kiaya.
We gotta bring it up.
Versus Levi. Levi, the best Vietnamese jungler as well. What the rest of the map from GAM is going to bring, I think that is yet to be decided. I think they've been really good match players in terms of just leveling up. But I generally think that...
I don't care! Bwipo versus Kiaya.
Yes.
I'm so excited because,
come on. And the review afterwards.
The review afterwards. I mean, you know, he's giving all of the notes and the pointers to everyone, and it's just like, I feel like it's putting a lot of pressure on yourself.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. And this GAM is going to make it a messy game, so almost certainly we're going to get a review, like, no matter what, because they're going to team fight. GAM is going to come in, they're going to play Shyvana, Aurora, they're going to make these fights messy, and it's just going to be FlyQuest that has to try and keep it on the rails.
I mean, I'd love to, like, get him to do review live on the desk.
If he's down, if we could pull that off, it would be incredible.
See, I heard we have an additional minute to cover here, but yeah, I mean, I think what's fair to say is that FlyQuest should not be underestimating GAM here. You were really taken aback that FlyQuest picked red. They're actually the first or the only team today to do so if they had a choice.
Yeah, we realized that. So throughout the entire Swiss stage, the team from the higher pool gets to choose sides. And of the 8 teams that got to choose, as you said, FlyQuest is the only team to choose red. Also similar to what they did in playoffs. We had entire best of 5s where they'd be on red side every single game because they'd pick red and their opponents would pick blue just over and over again. So they're very committed to this side. I wish I knew exactly why they do it, because it's not like they're utilizing a huge top lane counter pick. As we said, Bwipo's literally just been playing Renekton whenever it's open, and will probably continue to do that at Worlds, but they're very comfortable on this side.
They're committed to the bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
They are.
It's always funny because blue side will get picked so much more because you can kind of plan the draft a little bit more in the first 3 picks. But then on red side, you're like, but you can probably get not only just the top lane counter, but the support counter. There's a lot of things there. I want to see what they draft. That's going to be the most important question.
And just so we're sure, going to the casters, you're holding the FlyQuest one, and you...
I want to practice.
And he's holding the GAM one. Just so we know
it's not free, but
what people think. Let's go.
That one. No, this one. This one.
Give it.
Give it back. Why are you on that side? We already established that Raz doesn't do what you tell him. I told him to break it. I told you to tell him what.
You just threw it at me. What are you doing?
These guys are just wrestling among themselves. Last time they were on the coast too.
You guys have lost it. You guys have lost it down there. Hey, Raz.
We need some adults over on the analyst desk to separate the children.
We're apparently the adults, I guess. I'm Asterix is Azale, and we've got GAM versus Fly. Now, it is good having a resident NA caster. And let me say, you're a play-by-play caster, you're an analyst, and you're also a desk analyst. You can do it all.
Well, thank you.
So you've got the full layout of this FlyQuest lineup that made the upset in the finals versus TL, and are now your first seed.
Yeah, TL, who's heard of that? This is our first seed. You know, this is where we're pinning all our hopes here to try to get that NA win today.
At least,
FlyQuest, you know, has really developed a lot. You know, they talked about it obviously on the desk, but I was just so impressed by how much the team leveled up in playoffs, and also the shift in playstyle in playoffs was also really important as well. Similarly to how, you know, I was talking about TL, this is a team that if you look back to spring and you only watch them in spring or going in MSI, everyone just talked about how it's just all about Inspired playing towards Bwipo, and like that's kind of their thing, and they're going to win if they can do that well. Well, it shifted massively. You know, obviously Raz was talking about Quad and highlighting him, but it was also about Massu and just having a lot of faith in these young carries in Quad and Massu, you know, to be able to really get it done. And going into playoffs, Inspired really moved away from what was his heavy farming style, and he was spamming Ivern and Amumu and champions like this to just enable his team.
You know what I really liked as well about both NA teams, both TL and FlyQuest? I've noticed from MSI as well, that trajectory just kept going up. There was more and more development, and I know, you know, we talked about it with APA before. We talked about it with Sion as well, and how they facilitate where they get into the team. With FlyQuest too, you know, having more versatility, more of a foundation gives you more hope for this team as they go up against GAM. And a lot of people are saying this should be a win if you want to believe in North America, or at least FlyQuest here at this World.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of those situations where this is the result of you getting first place, right? They got an easier draw. You're playing against a team from play-ins. You're not having to play against an LPL or an LCK team. Does that mean it's a free win? No. Does that mean it's an easy win? No. You have to take it seriously. You have to still play well to be able to take down these teams. GAM, they played very well in play-ins. They went 4-0, did not drop a game. The only team to actually not drop a game getting through play-ins. So, you know, we don't know exactly how high they can go. And Kiaya, they talked about this on the desk as well, you know, really was impressive. To me, he was such a standout. He shut down Summit absolutely after Summit, you know, was getting some monster lane advantages. And my big question for FlyQuest coming into Worlds was kind of like, which Bwipo is going to show up? Because Bwipo during the regular season, you know, really wasn't making the kind of impact that you would expect from him.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes.
Then in playoffs, really did step up, and especially, you know, in the finals weekend, he's bringing out the Olaf, he's bringing out the Gnar, he's bringing out all these picks and really making things happen. And this is kind of right back to where FlyQuest left off in playoffs, going to the Ivern. This is something that became pretty much permabanned against them after they were doing a lot of double AD carries with Ivern. I don't know if that's exactly what they'll go to here, but, you know, at the time, Quad was playing like Smolder and Zeri and things like this, and they just pair that with Ivern, and they'd say, you know what, we're just going to scale and we're just going to out-team fight you.
Well, with that locked in, again, we get confident also with the Kalista that sets up for a more aggressive bot lane. Talk about confidence in your laners. This also shows a little bit more of that here with Fly putting emphasis on that 2v2.
Exactly. I mean, Massu, Rookie of the Year, this guy, I cannot say enough good things about him and his development. His rise has been meteoric. In 2022, this guy was an amateur. In 2023, he won Most Valuable Prospect in Academy. In 2024, he's at Worlds, he won a title, and he's Rookie of the Year.
Can't believe he went from that to like MSI and Worlds in the same year, in his debut year. It's crazy.
It's really incredible. You can't really ask for more than that. Busio, obviously, you know, has really had that kind of incredible career as well, you know, as far as his trajectory. You know, he was a Most Valuable Prospect as well the year before in the NACL. It's a very young bot lane. You know, they're trying to obviously kind of smooth things out, you know, really get everything working, and they have been able to do that quite a lot towards summer. They became a very well-respected 2v2 as far as their laning phase in the LCS, where, you know, in spring, teams were really not giving them that respect when you talk to other bot laners and other pros in the league. So we'll see if they can make it work here with the Kalista. Obviously, aggressive pick, but Massu has the confidence to play this sort of stuff. And over on the other side, we have some great denial picks here with a Poppy. When you're talking about Kalista, you're talking about Leona. It can really shut you down pretty heavily.
I mean, seeing that Jhin get locked in for GAM as well is a good feel, considering that for EasyLove it was his most played. 100% win rate. I mean, GAM won every single game, so take that with a grain of salt. But again, our most successful playing team is what they're being called, as they get a lot of comfort here to open up, and they deny some of those other power picks, like the Jax here in this second rotation.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that Shyvana, if you're wondering why was that banned, well, this is actually a really big pick for Levi. You know, not just in play-ins, but actually regionally as well. It was his most played champion, you know, throughout summer split. So he really is very adept at these heavy farming styles. And when that was banned out from him in play-ins, he went towards the Wukong, so he's going a bit of a different style. He's playing heavy towards the Engage, and they're banning out the Jax, they're banning out Cassante, they're banning out Renekton. These are a lot of these picks for Bwipo that are comfort. We'll be curious to see where he does elect to go, as Kiaya has his Rumble removed. Was very good for him. And it's going to be Quad on the Orianna. So this was kind of my big question is, you know, we hadn't seen any of the LEC or LCS teams go back to, like, you know, just on a mid and double AD carry and this sort of stuff. So I was curious with the Ivern if they were going to go back that route, but instead it is going to be the Orianna. So there's a lot of protection for Massu here, and quite high damage. So great scaling over on the FlyQuest side, obviously from their mid laner. And going to be curious to see how GAM rounds out their comp. You know, with the Jhin, you generally want to have dive alongside the Vi and the Poppy, and the Akali is going to give them just that.
A lot of backline access, a lot of ability to stop Massu playing the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you go Camille, this is absolutely just like a full send comp. Almost, you know, full physical. Of course, Akali obviously is going to be magic, but if you went towards, you know, a tank, that could be problematic. Vladimir would be really interesting, but I'm going to start talking about hovers because it is going to be Gnar. It is all dive pretty much here. So it's going to be Poppy support, Akali mid, Gnar top, alongside that Vi. There's a 0% chance that Bwipo, this is going to get locked.
Zero?
Bwipo, a 0% chance.
0% chance.
This is just a hover from Busio. I truly will never believe that that's going to get locked in. This is what's going to get locked in.
Oy, okay.
So he will tell you, as much as, you know, he is getting some flack, you know, some people love it, some people hate it. Bwipo will tell you whatever he thinks. Whether he's right, whether he's wrong, doesn't really matter. He's going to give you his honest opinion on anything. This guy, I remember the first time I met him was actually at a Rift Rivals event when it was, you know, LCS versus LEC. And first time I had met him, never talked to him in my life, he just started telling me their whole draft plan. I'm like, you shouldn't be telling me this. Like, don't tell me this. I'm not going to leak it, but someone might. And he's just, you know, he's really open. He's really talkative. He's great, you know, as far as that goes. And he's been creating, I think, so much content around Worlds.
He's been great. He's been like the little villain, right? But
yeah.
As much as, you know, some people don't like it and some people don't like how outspoken he is, again, as you said, great content, but also sets up this nice narrative that if Bwipo starts winning as well, Bro can walk the walk that he talks.
Exactly, it's great. But the other part of it is that as much as people are like, he's getting an ego, he will tell you and has said constantly, he thinks he's the worst player on his team. And he's saying, you know, it's a privilege to play on a team where you are the worst player on your team. And you need to be working hard to live up to that, to be able to keep pace with your teammates and to be able to make sure you're doing your job. And this is what he's talked about time and time again, if you watch his stream, is that he is going to do his job. He is going to play to set up his teammates for success. And that is the role that he sees for himself now on this team. And so as much as people want to talk about ego, to me, that is about as like humble as it gets.
I mean, again, it's a great narrative coming in because FlyQuest in their debut have got a lot to show up here for North America. The earlier loss for TL stings a little bit when it was so winnable against LNG. Now this one people are saying should be FlyQuest, but GAM came through play-ins so unconditionally well, undefeated. Is it GAM time or Fly time? We're about to find out here in our second last game of day number 1 here for Swiss. And as you said before, GAM have built a comp that wants to send it and try and send it on top of Massu.
And what I will say is their engage needs to be perfect, because if you fail your engage against Ivern and Redemption comes down and multiple shields come down and Daisy is interrupting you and all these things are happening, you are going to lose the fight for sure. So your engage needs to be picture perfect, but this is a 2-threat comp over on FlyQuest. So if you can nail that engage, instantly kill Quadr, instantly kill Massu, all of a sudden FlyQuest is going to be sorely lacking in damage, whereas over on the other side, there's really 4 threats from GAM. You know, yeah, Gnar is not a true carry, but they are some real damage dealers on that team. So, you know, it is kind of that high risk, high reward for FlyQuest. If you can perfectly protect those carries, have that counter engage, it could go really well. But if you don't, it could fall flat on its face.
Now, just an update on the other pick that should be highly contested here is, again, we're just looking at the star of GAM. Well, you can see his world appearance. This guy's got 10 of the VCS of the 11 championships of GAM. I mean, on the Vi here, he's a big playmaker for this game.
And he as well, you know, I talked about this with Maple, he is in his last Worlds appearance. I mean, he's talked about that retirement, you know, and he has been so incredible. So many people think back to, you know, him playing like the Nocturne, the power farming Nocturne, and being able to pull off
Luckily, we got to see it in this Worlds too, right?
Exactly, like the surprise plays that he has been able to pull off. He has brought some incredible moments to Worlds. This guy truly is world class, and he's so exciting, so fun to watch. A great personality as well. So FlyQuest are into the lane swap here. Sion obviously very adept at that. Bwipo going to be taking a lot of damage, but did start W level 1, so was able to soak that and wanted to walk forward to get the experience. It was not about farm. Just wanted to make sure he was soaking enough experience, because even if you dive the Sion, he can farm a lot of this with his zombie passive. And we'll see if Busio is going to do the same thing we've been seeing a lot today from Core and from HLE as well, where he gets level 2 and then bases to cover, but it doesn't look like he's going for it. So GAM, I think for sure, are going to try to dive this, and it's going to be up to Inspired to try to cover here with Levi waiting in the brush.
Now, while I was wrong about the Nocturne for Levi, of course that was Oddie on the other side. I might not be wrong about how well this dive goes, because this wave is getting bigger and bigger. Bwipo has the attention of Inspired, spotted out by Levi. Where is the attention going? Kiaya also walking down here to make sure this try and works out. You're right.
This is really risky. They're going to go for it, but Inspired can keep him.
Oh, it's clean, but the shielding's huge. It comes through clutch, but over the top. EasyLove gets the range shot. A beautiful finisher, and GAM, layering of CC was still clean.
Yeah, really nicely done there. Even with those shields, you know, I thought it might have turned around a little bit, but they weren't able to survive long enough. But this is the benefit of Sion. Yeah, you died, but he didn't really miss any experience. He farmed a lot of the wave before he died, and then he just immediately TPs back, and he's like, well, you can't do it again. So, you know, that is kind of that difficulty. But thankfully for GAM, that kill went exactly where you would want it. It went to EasyLove. That dive would have been way less beneficial if it went to, like, you know, the Poppy support or something like that.
True.
And we'll see as Poppy's here.
Elio tries to bring Busio back into rage. Some good damage done. Emo in trouble though. Quad, wait, he's got so much to do. He's run low on mana here, but forces Emo out as he gets a low health bar.
Yeah, Quad has become a very strong laner. You know, one of the things that FlyQuest talk a lot about, again, is that this is a guy who is too selfless, and they really kind of wanted to instill into him that, no, you are going to carry the game. You need to be greedy. You need to play for yourself. And so that is something that FlyQuest has really been working on, and that Quad has really been working on, is to try to really set himself up for success, to not always feel like he needs to, you know, not call for resources. You know, and that's part of what kind of is having Inspired on these supportive styles. You know, when you think of Inspired, you think of power farming. People are calling him, you know, the full clear CEO and stuff, and like all of these kind of memes. But, you know, he is willing to play all of the styles, and I think that's what makes him such an impressive jungler, is that this guy's won MVP in multiple leagues, and he really can play such a high level for pretty much every champion.
And I mean, again, having so much versatility as a jungler is such a good thing here, especially heading towards those summer championships where I feel like Inspired gapped Umti in that final. It's not even a feel that happened, right?
He absolutely crushed him. And I mean, he is someone that,
deep for Busio, but he's okay here with his shield up.
Yeah, nice little bit of chunk there. And now with that chunk, you start to get nervous about, you know, can I walk forward on this wave? You know, Massu is just kind of thinning it out a little bit. They're going to allow it to keep pushing out towards FlyQuest. And going to just hold this and make sure to keep denying as much as possible from Kiaya. Whereas on the other side, guess what? Jhin cannot pressure a Sion in a 1v1. So Bwipo's going to keep farming, and Bwipo is getting way ahead as far as that CS is concerned.
We saw it before, you know, in what we call the T1 early game masterclass, where EasyLove on this Jhin couldn't really pressure sides, couldn't really get away with open map because the Jhin was slow at pushing, slow at taking down some of these tanks as well. As you just highlighted there. It's a nice touch considering as the push comes out, Bwipo's okay for now. He's picked up quite a lot of CS in this lane as well. 400 gold lead, while Kiaya, as you said, constant pressure added there while he has to reset and go bot.
Exactly. It's a smart play here from FlyQuest, just utilizing the sign, utilizing that passive, picking up as much farm as possible. As Levi does get eyes on Inspired, but he'll just use the smite and then go back towards his Krug to pick that up and be able to be there to cover any sort of thing top. As they are pushing the Poppy out, we can see Jin's moving towards top. Bwipo is going to move forward and try to proxy this wave and keep Kiaya away from it. You can see on the mini-map, they're just kind of like jostling for position. While that is happening, this is all lost farm here. So Bwipo even spending the ult. He has a 2-level advantage.
And he's doing a lot of damage, waiting for the decimating smash. He finds that, he gets a grass stack, presses E. If he goes into zombie, he'll also kill Kiaya. He's just waiting for the cooldown, and it's just such classic Sion play. The flash away as Bwipo just tries to survive. He's got no mana, no TP to come back, and he's already burnt the ulti.
It's just really smart play from Bwipo here. It's great stuff. He forces the flash. He knows he has a level advantage. He's zoning Kiaya away. So even though Kiaya survives, it cost him his flash. It means he lost multiple minions to that. And on the top side, they're utilizing the prowl that they have with Kalista to get all 3 of this grub. So this is really good stuff here on the map from FlyQuest. They are down a first blood, which is worth 400 gold, and they are up 1,000 gold here, not even 7 minutes in.
I mean, again, remember that because of all the health that he's gained off that W as well from killing the minions with the minion advantage we talked about before, makes those dives worse and worse and worse as the game goes on, and obviously it gets tankier and tankier and tankier, even in this early game. Well, GAM at the very least, you can say they've started this dragon, they'll take this dragon. Fly were the ones who picked up 2 of the grubs before, so that's the trade we're looking at for now.
But we also know that there's 2 parts of the game. We've seen a number of teams, you know, play really well on the map movement. You think back to the TL game early. Their early stages were great. You know, I do think they were outplaying, you know, LNG as far as their lane assignments and as far as how they were moving around the map. But you have to be able to execute in those 5v5s, and here they go.
Okay, well, they set it up, and Poppy tries to stop them with the steadfast presence, but it matters not. Massu picks up the kill, and Busio flashes away. He survives. EasyLove now has a lot of spears in him, gets rendered out, and Massu uses the rest of his mana to say back off.
Yeah, great play there from Massu, just utilizing the ulti. Bwipo's up here to go top, and they're going to just rotate their bot back towards bot lane. Bwipo almost has the ulti, and if that comes up and EasyLove is still here, it could get a little bit dicey, to be honest. So EasyLove does need to pay some respect.
He's got the thumbs up. I'm waiting for it too, as Daisy says bye-bye. Inspire just hovers over the bot wave. Bwipo, I think we're mega close to that, and as you said, EasyLove has to back before he gets taken out.
But their tempo is so bad because he's basing so much later, and Kiaya has no TP, so Kiaya bases now, goes top, and guess what's happening? Again, you're losing the wave to the tower. So, you know, their map movements are a bit slow. Obviously, this is partially because Fly have the bush, but I also think GAM on some of these resets are being a little bit greedy, a little bit late to the punch. That's an entire wave that is gone, and that is nearly a 2,000 gold lead now for FlyQuest here, and this is not even 9 minutes in.
This is what, I guess, you know, the best part of the lane swap is. You can see so many minute differences, but when it exploits like this, as Bwipo looks for the decimating smash damage, you just see what a team that is experiencing this, I guess, going up against TL has given them a lot of experience, especially in the domestic league, what FlyQuest can do with an early game that's exposed like this.
Absolutely. I mean, we'll see if they can make it happen when it does come down to those team fights, but thus far, it is a map kingdom here for FlyQuest. They are playing the map really, really well. They're excelling in that macro game. And we'll see if they can kind of continue developing with this, as Bwipo, obviously, eventually you are going to be pretty far on the back foot against this Gnar, but you're hoping at that point that you're just so tanky that the Gnar really can't pressure you out, and that you just have more value in the 5v5.
Well, you're not worried about the early game in that regard, are you? Because you're almost 1k gold up here on this Gnar, 20 CS up. I love it, you know, the first Sion coming out here at Worlds. And this innovation leads me to believe that, again, Bwipo's in fine form, as we talked about a little bit before. And Bro is not taking any damage with the chain vest, with the Kindle gem already picked up. Things looking good here for the FlyQuest early game that we talked about. You mentioned 2K. I'm also looking at those grubs spawning in 1 minute and thinking, well, with that gold lead, you can probably use that to their advantage. A shockwave comes through. Emo in a bit of trouble. He's got flash available. And there's a dissonance that comes through. Emo almost got solo killed again.
Yeah, I mean, Quad has just been putting on a lot of pressure. I mean, Quad is basically a kill's worth of gold ahead of his opponent without actually getting that kill. He's just constantly pushing in, constantly harassing him, you know, not allowing Emo to get any free CS at any point in this game. And he's even going to get a plate off this, pretty much guaranteed. So is in a great spot. That's going to be now going on a 600 gold lead for Quad without a kill, without really any jungle intervention either, and that's definitely setting himself up for success. He already has that early tier. He's stacking it up. You can see tier 2 boots kind of almost across the board here for FlyQuest, and the first item already done now for Bwipo, as he's got the unending spare. So FlyQuest, again, just moving around the map, really pressuring well, and now that Busio has 6, it does get a little bit scarier here if you do show up in a side lane, because not only is there that long range engage, you know, throwing them in with that Kalista ultimate, there's Leona ult, there's so much CC there to follow.
You notice as well, teleport was burned by Kiaya to move towards mid. That's because those grubs talking about contested are what GAM really seeking after. They're the only ones here. Fly just said whatever. They leave Bwipo in a side lane, and Inspired starts traveling down to see if there's anything he can do. So at least GAM getting the objective here when they're so far behind.
Yeah, they will be able to get the objective, and this is going to be 4 grubs for them. So they are going to get the Void Might spawn. That is very, very nice. Busio gets eyes on this, and will be going back up towards top to cover it. You can tell he's a little bit nervous. Oh, is someone coming? So he's going to pull it back and make sure that he can secure this. Just, I think, was probably waiting to make sure that there's no chance of any sort of contest. We, of course, know that Inspired was not there, but Inspired now has the redemption done. FlyQuest starting to complete these items. They're not going to feel pressure with this style of comp. I know that they have an incredible amount of confidence that when they are playing these style of compositions with the Ivern, that they will outscale, that they will win 5v5, but they do get spotted moving in here, and Levi's coming top lane, so could be a play.
He's a bit far away for now, but he has flash and ulti available, as you said, and the Jhin traps also help out with the vision game too. The FlyQuest notice him, or at least you'd think
wasn't spotted.
No, it wasn't.
No, definitely didn't have vision on him there, but they are going to check. And they are definitely aware of the possibility, so Levi will get spotted.
So the next question is, what happens with this Dragon down bot? Because you can see that Inspired is there. Now that Levi's spotted out top, are they going to commit for the dive? Are they going to continue for this play and try and maximize it? Or does Levi now need to sprint towards bot and try and make something happen?
I think it would be too hard of a play to really make happen, honestly. But at the same time, I don't think FlyQuest are going to be that quick to be starting up the Dragon. They don't really have a lot of damage here with the Ivern.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, if they send their bot lane down there, then maybe they're going to be looking towards it. But there's really not been too much prio on the Dragons thus far. They're happy to just continue farming. They feel they have a scaling advantage, and they're going to keep playing towards that. As Bwipo going to be able to grab a plate for that time that was spent top from Levi. Bwipo knows, you know what? I'm not pressured. If there's no jungler here, you're not killing me 1v1. So walks up, claims the plate, And they're just going to keep pushing towards these first item completions where they'll feel very strong. You know, you can see item now done here for Quad. They're just waiting on the Blade of the Rune King for Massu. And that's where I think we're going to see FlyQuest start to come alive a little bit more and start feeling confident that they can look towards some of these fights. But really, the pressure is way more on GAM when you're playing this style of comp. Like, you're effectively 4 melee. Yeah, there's mini Gnar for range, but you're effectively 4 melee and full dive. Like, you need to make things happen way more, I think, than FlyQuest does.
As you said, full commit, and I think that's just showing GAM, like, kind of like what we're talking about with PSG, pulling out what you'd argue is a riskier composition, right? It has good thematics, but against a team like Fly, against a Swiss team, is showing a bit of a risk. Good shuriken flip as Emo has to get on out because Quad is continuing to use the range while GAM just take care of Daisy. Now finally looking towards the bottom side with setup on Scuttle, potentially set up around the Dragon as well while Fly looked top.
Yeah, nice little trick there. Didn't make too much of a difference, but he did actually leash Daisy by outranging it, sending it the opposite direction from him, so denies that kill goal from him. Some of the tricks you'll see both Ivern and Andy players do is you can actually walk the opposite way. You can also do it with Shaco alt clone.
True.
So there's one of those little things that just kind of showcases mastery on the champ and is going to move topside, just play for some camps, but GAM are coming. They want to fight here.
Elio gets a setup. It's a steadfast presence set up by the Keeper's Verdict, and Fly getting out with the redemption comes in handy. The engage is deep from Busio to try and get on out, but now he's got Quad. A one-man shockwave onto Emo means perfect execution out. No one dies as a setup, and Summoners are burned in the process.
Yeah, Levi looking to try to pressure Quad here, at least to keep him away from some of those minions. The invade not working out there for Fly at the end of the day. It is going to be the flash for Inspired for a little bit of time there from the GAM squad, but the redemption keeping them safe along with Quad moving over to try to cover. They couldn't really chase past into Quad. They would have been really difficult to pull that off. But again, the gold lead just slowly but surely extending more and more. We're now up about 2.5, 2.6k, and this tower is getting incredibly close to dying. EasyLove is just going to get ignored. Jhin does not hurt tanks, and he's going to be problematic. I mean, sure, like, if you gave tons and tons of time to Gnar on a side lane, eventually he could deal with him. But, like, you cannot win a team fight where Gnar just sits there and autos Sion 300 times.
True.
So who's supposed to kill this guy, right? Like, he's going to be walking at Jhin in almost every team fight, and Jhin just kind of has to walk away.
I mean, again, with all the resources Bwipo's getting, I mean, armor stacking is going to come through soon, right? He's sitting on MR, but, like, you've got, you know, got the Akali, but the rest is AD. So for Bwipo, so easy in this game to itemize, right? Oh, sorry, the unending despair is armor start.
Yeah, and he might be going towards, we'll see, you know, when you watch him play this a lot, he'll go towards Titanic, he'll sometimes go towards like Sterix and play these more kind of damagey bruiser styles, which, you know, can work really, really well because Sion gets so much free HP with that W passive that you were talking about. And you can see, you know, the number below his flash TP, that's how much health he's already gotten. So, you know, going on 700 free health already. So can definitely make him a threat, you know, even just with that one armor item and a ton of HP. It's tough to focus him down in the 5v5. So if he builds a little bit of damage, he then has that actual kill threat and that real difficulty where you can't ignore him and you can't really kill him. So then it becomes, okay, well, what now?
I mean, the health stacking is at 715, by the way, just from that W.
Yeah, and this tower top is likely going to die too. So FlyQuest just slowly but surely moving around the map, chipping away at these advantages. It's not a lot of fighting, it's not a lot of kills, but it doesn't need to be.
It's frustrating for GAM. Like, it doesn't need to be for Fly, but you can see GAM are getting edgy, and they're like, we need to find a pick. Onto Busio, no, denied. Massu's nearby, Bwipo's now moved into position as well. It's all around this Herald that's just sitting there, glanting an eye to see who starts it off, but GAM don't want to do it because Fly are around, and they still keep finding a pick, but no overextensions here, as Fly still playing it so patiently, as you said.
Exactly, and it's so frustrating, as you say, playing against this style, and it can sometimes make you overcommit into a dive or overcommit into a play where you say, we just have to do something, and that is where Ivern will kill you. If you do not have the perfect execution on that dive, if you go into the back line, redemption comes down, the shield comes down from Ivern, Daisy's there peeling, barrier gets popped, Orianna shield comes through, all of a sudden you're not even close to killing them, and you're all dead.
God. MasterCard lane economy snapshot in the meanwhile, 1800 gold mid. Sorry, in top. Mid's about 1k, and everything else is daisies and peaches here for Fly. Yeah, it is so frustrating. It's been a slow game. You guys sitting at home going, well, when the action going to happen? But, you know, for Fly, they're picking up these one items, the two items coming across and starting to build towards as well. They have the gold lead. They'll have the item advantage. they'll have the fight advantage here as third dragon comes up, and obviously that's going to be something they'll deny. But I think they'll be happy taking the fight at that point to deny it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what FlyQuest is going to look towards, and then the question is, well, what can GAM do about it? You know, can GAM really make a play happen? Because as much as they are building this slow incremental lead, if all of a sudden GAM pull off that perfect fight, insta-kill Quad or insta-kill Massu at that dragon, put themselves a sole point, well, now there's a very easy win condition that you can look towards as Bwipo pops the ulti and is not going to be able to make his way back to the tower just yet.
We walk slowly, but you're right, it goes down in the end, so GAM gets some more gold on the map right before this dragon. Bwipo not having the ulti before that objective might mean something here, as he just catches a wave, and you can see the rest of Fly move down to try and position and get themselves in river a little bit before this spawns.
Yeah, but Massu needs to go back to base. He's sitting on 1,800 gold, so he must, you know, feel like he needs a certain power spike that he's waiting for to actually complete, you know, at least a major component. Inspired did just go back to base. He's already on 2 items now. Of course, they are cheap ones on the Ivern, but that's part of the advantage of this champ. Like, he's already on Moonstone plus Redemption. That's full build for Ivern.
Yeah, no, we're done. We're done. Yeah, it's annoying as well. The longer these fights go, the more that Moonstone gets value, and part of the ploy of Ivern, you're right, it's just so cheap.
And Massu, you know, he's now the only one that hasn't actually spent. Bwipo went back and spent, got his tier 2 boots. Everyone else on FlyQuest has found that time to base. Massu maybe won't feel that he needs to, but I mean, he is sitting on 2K, so as much as there is a gold lead for FlyQuest, a lot of it are in his pockets right now.
Herald might be start off the corner of that spot from Levi on the top side.
Gonna be a trade, looks like.
But he needs to do it quick smart, because another 30 or 40 seconds, that's going to despawn anyway, as Bwipo just walks into Emo and cares not. He gets grasp. He's got the ulti in 3 seconds, or rather 7 if my eyes could count properly. And he just sends him away. He won't pop anything while Fly deny the dragon stack, and looks like Levi will stay true to the Herald.
I mean, it's kind of like, as Emo, what are you supposed to do? Sion walks at you. Are you going to E into him? Like,
fight.
You're going to maybe break his shield. You know, it gets very, very difficult. They just have no sustained damage. It's hard to, like, think of a comp that's worse at killing tanks than what GAM have drafted. Of course, their goal is not to kill the tanks, it's to go past the tanks and just be able to kill off the carries. But that is very tough with Ivern, with Ori, you know, with some of these defensive items. You can see second item now complete for Quad. And I think Massu's probably going to have a second item nearly done by the time he goes back. He's going to be working towards that Rage Blade, very likely here. And they're going to be sitting in a really good spot.
But I have to say, I mean, I've seen many comps out of Fly, and especially, you know, looking back in the finals, looking back in the series versus 100 Thieves as well, this feels like a very patient FlyQuest. This feels like a very, not reserved, but like well thought out style of FlyQuest in the first 20 minutes of this game.
And I can tell you from talking to some of these guys and from talking to the coaches, like, this is just a draft where I think they thought they won in draft if they play slow. So they are going to try to not rush it. They're going to try to not get nervous. They're saying, you know what, our win condition is farm and do nothing. And GAM has to disrupt us. So if they feel that they're in that spot, especially playing towards Mountain Soul, which is horrible for GAM, you know, that is really rough. They're going to be happy to just play it slow.
Solar Flare, they can't kill Busio yet. He gets ignited down, but here he comes! Unstoppable onslaught, forced the flash from Elio, and Bwipo just gets in the way. He's trying to block some of these shots in the end, but they did all their damage on a Leona. At half HP, it matters not. There's a Moonstone Renewer Ivern, and there you go. That's GAM's engage. That's how hard this game is.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really tough. You know, again, it's one of those situations where you're saying, well, why are you engaging on Leona? Because Leona was the only one showing, and they haven't found anything, right? So you're getting frustrated. You're feeling the game is slipping away. And it's one of those situations where we've all been in these games if you play League, where you feel like you're losing, and there hasn't even been a fight yet. Like, nothing has happened, but you feel like you're losing the game. So it really does put pressure on them to try to make some sort of a pick. They go for Busio, but he has Locket. There's an Ivern shield. There's a Redemption. And, you know, that's kind of it.
You know, I'm going to try this because I don't normally make American references, but this game is like, for GAM, it's like going to Walmart and there's no cheese, but it's taco night. And you need cheese. You can't have taco without cheese, right? That's what this game feels like. I'm assuming Walmart sells cheese. I don't know what that shop is.
How is that an American reference just because there's Walmart?
Because there's Walmart in it. I took it away. I didn't use Woolworths. I didn't use Coles, which is what we got back home. I didn't use Reva.
You know what we do in LA for taco night? We go out and get some street tacos.
Oh, much better. Well, the van's not there. GAM don't have the van. So what do they do? What do they do?
I guess, wait, well, if you don't have a van, how are you going to Walmart?
That's right. How are you going to Walmart? We come back to the setup point, and then we question, What are GAM going to do in this game?
Where will they get their cheese?
If you don't follow the reference, then let's go back to the start. They try to go to Walmart. And for GAM, as they defend this mid lane turret, again, maybe the doors are closed. And with Daisy out, it's a 6 versus 5. But the whole of GAM, even as they move in, are getting forced off. The Keeper's verdict is out. It hits backline. It's good. And GAM finally pull the trigger. But Bwipo with a 3-man knockup, set up with a decimating smash, still gets them all. They find backline access, but Massu takes so long to die. And he still survives. It's just hopeless, man. FlyQuest with the draft div, I think it's safe to say.
Massu played that so well in the fight, though. They initially try to go in for Inspired, look to try to burst him out. They can't do it. And then they full send it onto Massu, but perfectly timing the flash, dancing around in the fight, dodging skill shots, is able to survive. And just like that, you get the fight you wanted. It's not the fight that GAM wanted, though, as FlyQuest are going to crush the fight, going to take the Baron, and get a stranglehold on this game.
This is looking clinical. This is looking well thought out. And for FlyQuest, steps away from bringing the first win of the Swiss stage to North America. It is a masterclass at this point as they move to a 6K gold lead with the Red Bull Baron power play.
Yeah, they are looking really, really strong. The Sterix is complete for Bwipo, so 2 items across the board now here as we can watch this one more time. GAM, you know what? They say, all right, enough is enough. They're pushing, they're sieging in our face. Bwipo is tanking the tower, so they just full go with it. They try to get in the backline and burst out Inspired, but he flashes, he shields himself, he drops a Redemption. You can see Kiaya is just full targeting onto Massu here, but Massu kites back. He flashes out of the Gnar, dodging the Jhin ulti at the same time. Good patience on his summoners. He did not panic when he was getting low there, played it out really well. And you can see the intensity on their faces. Yeah, the game is going well, but they know it is not over till it's over.
True.
And the coaching staff looking pretty stressed there, I'm not going to lie.
After the start today, after the TL game,
Massu's damage, by the way.
It's huge, isn't it? I mean, you saw at the end the Deadly Flourish. He dodged out of that. His Decimating Smash won't have enough damage, but Bwipo cleans it up anyway.
And Bwipo as well. You know, he turned in almost 4K damage himself. That's what I'm talking about. When you can't kill the tank in this situation, you can build a little bit of damage, like the Sterix, as it synergizes so incredibly well with his HP stacking passive. Gives him so much bonus AD on this champ that it kind of gets a little bit crazy. I mean, he's getting 61 bonus AD from the Sterix alone. Like, that is an enormous amount.
I mean, thoughts about Overlord's Bloodmail. Let's talk about that in a second. Ulti used at point-blank range. Levi in trouble as they keep trying to dive this tower. He almost dies. 1 hit away. That play from GAM, though, was 2 turrets in the top side. So, you know, while we are talking about Fly in the Baron play, for now, things are stabilized as Fly try to trade out through bot, as we saw on our mini-map.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's smart play from GAM because if you can't defend, then you cross map, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Their wave clear is absolutely abysmal. Like, how are you supposed to actually stop the Baron push here with 4 melee champs basically and a Jhin? It's just not really going to happen. So they try to look for a play on the other side. Bwipo defends as well as he can, almost gets a kill. FlyQuest gets some gold down on the bot side, and this Baron power play is still going up, despite the fact that they did grab a couple of those towers on that top side of the map from GAM. So Fly's just going to keep playing it out slow and steady. They've gotten their 2nd Mountain Dragon. They can work towards this Mountain Soul. Mountain Soul with 4 Mountain Dragons. Well, if you thought the Sion was tanky now,
just wait.
Doesn't get better.
Yeah, buckle up. I mean, again, that Kalista with 3 items.
The minefield here for the Jhin traps. Time to sell your items and go AP. See if someone will step on them.
And then Bwipo will just run it down mid with the ulti, and it doesn't matter anyway.
Well, FlyQuest pushing out the map. They're just going to play 1-4. No need to get too overcomplicated here. Bwipo cannot be killed. It's just not going to happen. Or if he is, you're sending 5 people and they're ending the game.
Yep.
So FlyQuest are just going to stay around. They're taking over vision in the enemy jungle, making sure there's no possibility of a flank. Inspired just needs to make sure that he's not getting one shot at the start of the fight, and he can just support these teams. Has the Dawn Core done now as well, so he gets even more supportive here. The shields are getting larger and larger, and this TP is going to come in, but is it in time?
It is in time only, just. Bwipo demolishes it, almost takes it down, but Fly is still sticking around. Bwipo just stands in front, and you can see the Grubs are even doing their own work as Daisy gets a nice knock up. Bwipo again, point-blank range for the unstoppable onslaught, and Quad takes him down. Elio to the ground, and a double already picked up, and at 27 minutes, this looks like it could be the final onslaught here as GAM run out of energy. I don't know how good their energy was at the start of the game, but this has been a massacre.
Yeah, FlyQuest starting off Worlds with a bang here. Looking incredibly strong here against GAM. Gave them no chance, it felt like, start to finish. Great draft, patient play, and they're looking to clean it up.
Well, as they run towards the next turret, Emo just shuriken flips out. He's got nowhere to go. And Bwipo stands up. He's taking the turret. Now he TPs to the minion. That one ended in his final push as the Nexus exposed and North America have turned up FlyQuest with a dominating performance against our favorites from the play-in stage.
The only death here on FlyQuest was that initial dive off the lane swap where Bwipo was even able to just farm up the wave, TP right back. GAM just got no momentum at all in this game here. They had such a strong jump camp over on the FlyQuest side. Knew that they could just kind of play it slow, scale it up. They played the map better than their opponents. They laned better than their opponents. And in those team fights, they were able to execute when it mattered most. It's exactly what you want to see from your top seed here, going up against a strong team like GAM. You can't underestimate them. You need to play with that respect. But this was a really good start to the FlyQuest Worlds performance here, especially after MSI. They really want to show up, have a strong tournament. And thus far, they're doing great.
A clean performance that we can't really fault, and for GAM, you know, it does feel like we talked about the draft a lot. We criticized that because there were no options here, and it did feel like there were a couple of plays that looked good, but again, the other side of the map was always burning down. Bwipo on that Sion. Yeah, that was a fun
not
pick.
burning down.
It was not burning down at all. I mean, he had a clean game. He did exactly what he needed to in sides. Even did his walk afterwards. I mean, that guy's in fine form for day one.
Yeah, he was looking really good. I mean, he got so much done. I think the way that he actually played that game out was so incredibly smart. Obviously, the Sion was a great pick, but how much pressure he was actually putting on Kiaya, forcing the flash when he was coming back to wave, was really, really nice as well. FlyQuest, it's good to get that first win at Worlds out of the way here. You know, we've seen a lot of teams sometimes, you know, look a little bit nervous at the start, and being able to have a strong, confident win like that is going to set you up for success in this second round, where it's going to be a lot of beasts in the 1-0 bracket. So there's no easy draws for FlyQuest, so they've got to make sure they are absolutely on point coming into this next match if they want to have a shot at it.
But hell, with a performance like that, I mean, again, momentum is a very real thing. I think a lot of people cop it out and say it's just a quote that people use because they don't know why teams are playing so well. But overall, from that game, I have a lot more faith in FlyQuest. I have a lot more faith that it's not just like, oh yeah, Bwipo's just going to play, you know, Olaf or something like Renekton as he constantly does. It could be messy. I think Bwipo's got a lot of strength to him as we throw it over to Law, standing by with the Frozen post-game interview on stage.
FlyQuest are the first Western teams to grab a victory here at Worlds, and I have Bwipo with me. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back to the studio, even if it's
nice.
a new layout here. Yeah, you like it here?
Yeah, it's upgraded. It feels really nice.
All right. We'll talk about you coming back in Europe a bit later, but I feel like it's time for a review, Bwipo. We're going to review lane swap because I feel like it's been the main thing that we've seen today. It doesn't usually go well, but you're the first ones to actually make it successful. So let's review the lane swap from a GAM perspective, because you ended up in a pretty good situation. Soaking SP actually being leveled up at the end of the lane swap. The dive that happened, I don't really know what happened there, so you're the review master. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, honestly, I was shocked that I ended up dying here. Holy, they deal some damage. But fortunate for me, I have 2 health bars, so maybe that was a nice a neat little trick.
Anything that could have been executed better on their side, maybe?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, honestly. I think they dove me. I think just the way they drafted, the best thing they can do is, I don't know, flip it, maybe.
All right.
Like, I don't know, hope they don't get swapped on.
The game was pretty slow paced in terms of kills, actually. I was wondering what was going on here. Is this something you expected with the compositions that you had on both sides?
Oh yeah, I mean, the enemy team drafted Vi, Gnar, Akali, and Jhin. I locked in Sion, so I knew that it was going to take Jhin like, what, 29 bullets to kill me? He's only got 4.
Yeah, he only got 4. It takes a long time. And you guys got the victory in the end. As I was saying, you're back in the ADC studio. I don't know how long it's been since the last time you were here, but how good does it feel to be back in Europe, competing for Worlds as the first seed for NA? What do you think, Bwipo?
I feel fantastic, honestly. Europe has been nothing but kind to me. I really am grateful for all the fans, all of you here. Thank you very much. And I feel really hopeful. You know, the last time I was the first seed competing at Worlds, I made a final.
What is the hope here for FlyQuest? I keep on hearing good things about you. I don't want to talk about scrims too much, but I hear things are going well for you guys.
I think a final is a bit too overzealous, but I do think we'll make it out of Swiss. I have great confidence in my team. I think all of our players are exceptionally talented and work very hard, and I have nothing but great expectations, and I think we can live up to them.
And I cannot wait to see more from you and FlyQuest. Bwipo, thank you so much for the interview. Congrats
Thank you very much.
On the first victory here. That's all for us on the set of the stage. Last game of the first day coming up, Pain Gaming versus G2 Esports. Stay tuned.
See you guys on stage! Vamos! 在瑞士人见。我们瑞士人见。See you in the Swiss day. 我们瑞士人见。